And ladies and gentlemen, we are off, and this one's going to be on Whirlwind, actually, between these two fantastic players. Joj, would you be so kind as to introduce both of them?
I would. And the top right-hand side is Tilea, and in the top left-hand side of this TVZ on Whirlwind is Complexity's QXC. And Complexity's QXC is actually up one game against Tilea with a pretty interesting marine tank style on Neoplanet S. And I'm curious to see how Tilea is going to bounce back from this. I'm expecting more of the same, only in terms of play style, but she won't do, I would really doubt she would do anything besides Ling Bling Muta on Whirlwind. This map is so big, the mobility of that composition is just too key to pass up.
Yeah, absolutely, and you need to have that speed to be able to transition across the map due to its size. But like you say, it has a huge benefits for using Mutalisk because of the fact that you can fly between the third and the main so easily. You can harass the natural, it's exposed, and in this particular case, it actually does not benefit QXC all that much because the mineral line is exposed to a dead space. So he's not like he can chase this back or do anything. She can fly in, fly out whenever she chooses. On the other side, it does benefit her. It's going to be hard for him to drop in because he has to fly around the base to be able to get to access to the natural. However, that being said, the third is very easy for him to be able to drop into. And of course, with the Afterburners and Hellbats, dropping between the third and the natural for Tilea is something she's going to have to be able to ensure that she can defend reasonably well.
Yeah. And nothing too weird coming up from either player just yet. It looks like it could be, yeah, CC first from QXC. Awesome to see. And Tilea is going for just a hatch first and might go, yeah, I bet she goes for blind 3 hatch before pool because it's Whirlwind and hatch first is so, and CC first is so common. Only it's not blind, her overload sees it, so yeah, she's going to go for 3 hatch before pool, either with a creep hatchery or the third base right away.
We'll see shortly. I think it looks like she might be throwing in a creep hatch. There it is. Now, can you explain to me why they would choose to do a creep hatch as opposed to dropping down, say, an income hatchery?
I think the creep hatch in this case, I'm honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised. Yeah, it's going to be 4 hatch before pool. There it is. The creep hatch is just so that you can defend the third base easier. And there's that next drone. It's 4 hatch before pool again. That is awesome.
This is obviously a play that Kawhi Rice and she like to use quite efficiently, and it can pay off with huge dividends against QXC. We'll find out whether or not it's something that he can address as well. Obviously, it is going to set her back a little bit early as far as early pressure. We do have the spawning pool look like it's about to go down there, but instead choosing to make drones instead with that and grabbing a gas actually first. Now the pool, there we go. Okay, so things now starting to shape up for Tilea, and she will continue on with her game. This drone is an absolute nuisance, though. I've been watching it briefly. Up in QXC's base, this thing has been pecking away on literally everything it can nibble at.
Yeah, that scouting drone is kind of a trademark for both Kawhi Rice and for Tilea. They both use it very well. They're aggressive with that drone. They sit it out around 10. It's a really interesting choice. I like that. I hope to see more of that. It makes the early game a little bit more exciting to talk about. But QXC is going for reactor on his rack so he can trade it over to his factory. He's actually skipped Reapers entirely. He's going to go directly into Helgens most likely, and that will that will work out pretty well for him. Tilea is interesting. It was about to be 100 gas, and Tilea could throw down her speed. But she hits 100 gas right now, and she throws down a Roach Warren. So this is probably just defensive roaches. But again, she's skipping speed. I wonder if she's going to skip it as long as she did last game, where she went actually for Roach Hydra.
Yeah, that SCV was in there, getting a good scout. I'm sure that QXC has seen that the pool was not rippling like it should be around this time, and I'm sure he saw that Roach Warren as well. So I'm sure he knows what's up. He's scouting everything, literally. He knows that it's a 4 hatch, so he knows he's not going to see any real pressure anytime soon. And he's actually going to send out a couple of Hellions to get a little bit of a poke and prod and maybe see if he can roast some drones.
Yeah. Let's see, how many Hellions do you have? Just 2 Hellions right now. Is going to be rallying more. But this is a 2-base drop build. There is no 3 CC before tech. This is 2-base drop. from QXC. And so, some drones are getting roasted, but the roaches come out right now, and a pretty good timing on the roaches. But the main is going to be pretty undefended. There's no roaches from that main hatchery that are going to be made, so it's all going to be dependent on this one roach. I would expect to see some of these drones pull a little bit away so that they don't take too much damage.
That's true.
But yeah, there's the third CC from QXC, and the first medevac is popping out, so we should expect drops to start coming up pretty quick.
Yep, looks like it's going to be Widow Mines. One is already loaded, another one is on the way. Another Hellions in production as well. And these Hellions are just going about 4 of them now in total in the harassment team. There is a spine crawler in this particular base. Are they going to be able to get in and get a shot off on a couple of these drones? No, but this one spine crawler gets himself a kill, kills off one of the Hellions. Meanwhile, at the front door, roaches are counterattacking, taking care of one of the supply depots. And there's really not a lot of units here to answer this. And by not a lot, I mean there's literally only 2 Hellions, which aren't very effective against roaches, and then the Marines that are located inside the bunker, which can be easily circumvented as well. And so far, QXC now supply blocked, and not by like a little bit, by quite a bit actually, and this is going to slow him down a lot.
Yeah, now Widowmine does get 2 kills with that first shot, but I really like this 4 roach counterattack. She knew that QXC is not going to have very much of anything, and she was able to use 4 roaches to kill 4 supply depots, a bunch of SCVs, and that's quite a bit of damage, a lot of focus taken away from the main engagement. QXC has those 3 Gellings at the front of Tilea's base, and Tilea is mopping that up. They do get picked up by the medevacs, and they're going to go run to the first base, into the main base of Tilea, but Tilea has a spine crawler, is sending the roaches back, and should be just fine. But oh man, that Widowmine gets 9 kills before it's cleaned up all the way. But still, oh, and there's one in the natural too. This could be bad. Tilea needs to pull those drones. Oh, 4 drones go down. But still, it's interesting to note that there are 4 hatches and there's no lair. This is 10 minutes into the game, 9:30, and there's no lair. There's not really any gases. There's just the one gas. Tilea is behind, and I feel like QXC has put himself into a great position where he can gear up for a good, solid 2-2 timing.
Yep, and this is where the harassment is going to continue. He's now using that medevac as well as the Hellions to be able to continue to harass back and forth, back and forth. I know it looks like a bit of a pause here, maybe perhaps some lag or perhaps a technical difficulty at Tilea's terminal. We'll see where it's going in just a moment. As we get updates, we will let you know. Hopefully we're not going to be plagued with the same problems that we had yesterday evening, which dragged out forever. Okay, he's asking what's going on. It looks like her screen went black and the game froze for a second, and I think she's just looking into it and trying to figure out exactly what the issue is. Maybe it's a monitor connection, but if the game froze, that means that the monitor is working. It's perhaps a terminal problem, so we'll see what's going on. I'm sure that she'll be calling over a ref to take a look at it shortly. These games are being played in person. This is not an online tournament. This is an offline tournament played in Anaheim, California. Yep, she feels that it's okay, and so that she's going to go in just a moment, ladies and gentlemen. There we go.
Yep, and still continuing some harass with those Hellion drops at the third of Tilea, but it's not really doing any damage. It's going to peek on over to the natural most likely, but there is a spore crawler there that will shoo it away. And yeah, there's a Banshee coming from QXC. That's a little bit interesting. That's not something that we normally see in TVZ, and that's something that QXC is known for. Not Banshees in particular, but just weird, non-standard play. Not gimmicky, but just not necessarily what the metagame is, right? Because right now the metagame is 4M, which is Marines, Marauders, Medevacs, and Mines. And he has not been playing that style today. He's got a lot of Hellions. He's got, I mean, he is making mines this game, but last game he pretty much skipped them entirely and went straight for tank.
Yeah, pretty much. Why not switch it up? I mean, I think he knows that going into this tournament, a lot of the players are going to be relying on effectively metagame builds, builds that have been developed around the metagame. And by doing this kind of strategy is throwing Tilea off. I'm 100% certain of it. It's been so long since that we've seen Widow Mines against Zerg. Banshees has been an unbelievable period of time since we've seen Banshees being deployed against Zerg. It used to be very, very common. It used to be Hellion Banshee. That was the way everyone went. Now, well, it looks like QXC is going to go back to that kind of style, using Hellion and Banshee, and then he's using the new Heart of the Swarm units, such as the Widow Mines, to help defend, and also apply some harass. Speaking of which, he was able to rack up a whopping 29 kills already so far as, 29 worker kills, and I think a couple more. Now, those Hellions died unbelievably quickly. They got a couple of kills there, a couple of Zerglings, but certainly not a very good trade on those particular units. But he was also able to fly on it and get a bit of a drop on, but that was quickly shooed away by these roaches as well. And it looks like he's going to come back for another visit.
Yeah, this is kind of the problem with what Tilea is doing. Tilea, again, went for double ranged upgrades, but then adds on Aspire slightly earlier than she did last game. But if you're going for ranged upgrades and you're going for ranged units, that's gas that's not Mutalisk, so it's gas that's not being spent on tech. And it's very difficult for someone to deal with drops and tech and be any kind of aggressive at all in this matchup when you're spending all of your gas on ranged upgrades and ranged units. And so I feel like Tilea is spreading herself a little bit thin here. And here there's a little bit of a push at the front of the creep, but also that drop in the main that's going to snipe this Spinecrawler, get picked up, and get right out of there. Spire is finishing up, and there's not very many minerals and resources as a whole to dedicate to Mutalisk. I'm worried for Tilea, man. This is getting to be pretty bad. It's snowballing out of control.
Indeed it is, and with her losing the first game, and she needs to be able to pull a victory here, and it looks like he's just being able to abuse the fact that he's able to drop so efficiently here on Whirlwind, and these Marines are going to start working away on the hatchery, and the Baneling's so unbelievably close, and so what he's going to do, pick him up, and then he's going to split up his forces, which is going to tax Tilea's multitasking, and it looks like he's going to rack up a couple more drone kills, and then quick pick up here, and he's going to get out. There's also a drop up and in the main, as you can see. Multiple drops all the time, always going on. There's another drop going on over here, back on up. So, as you can see, Tilea is just being unbelievably taxed, having to split up her forces to try and address all of this. And still, they're very much alive and taking care of business with 1-1 upgrades.
Yeah, and there's a couple of Mutalisks that we're chasing some medevacs away, but she's got to pull those back so that she can deal with the Mutalisks that are actually still by the base. The fourth base has finally been taken by Tilea, but the main base is... she has been mining this whole time from 3 bases basically, and she's a little bit behind in every possible way. She's not out, but she's behind in pretty much every possible way. Upgrades favor QXC a little bit. Army count favors QXC a little bit. Worker count favors Tilea. She's got 80 workers now, which is fine. But she's got no tech really to compare to what QXC is doing, and I'm definitely worried about this. There's a big push, and this time with tanks coming up to the natural area, the natural ramp of Tilea. Mobile Lords are going to get sniped, and now Tilea is supply blocked at an absolutely critical moment. I don't know if there's a Baneling nest. There is a Baneling nest. She needs to morph some emergency Banelings to deal with this, and the Mutalisk should go in around the back and pick up the reinforcements and the siege tanks. But this is getting into do or die mode right now.
No, absolutely. Not a good time at all to be supply blocked. Overlords are popping, so she's able to produce units. Not many at all. Decent Baneling hits there, and mopping up a good number of Marines. A quick pickup there as well, and it looks like an 8-pack is going to fly on up and into the main as well and drop off, while the rest of the forces are outside the third. Mutalisks are going to snipe off, or at least try to snipe off the siege tanks, not able to do so. The drop does go down. Zerglings and Queens are going to work away on it. Another quick pickup as well, but the Mutalisks are in hot pursuit. But unfortunately, medevacs with these afterburners are actually faster than Mutalisks, but they will slow down eventually. And as you see, Mutalisks are going to take care of that. Meanwhile, at the same token, Marines are out front of Tilea's base, and they are going to get slaughtered by these Zerglings. But that being said, there is still tanks on the high ground. There's still a good number of forces. QXC looking so strong with literally a 35 supply advantage over Tilea.
Yeah, and Tilea actually, if you look at the full face of Tilea, you'll see that QXC has actually had a Banshee there that's racked up 15 drone kills so far. And with a new drop here, this is going to clean up. Well, actually, here, Tilea goes in and responds, and it's going to clean up everything that QXC left here. But the natural is under siege right now. Reinforcements that are misrallied are getting cleaned up by this group of 8 Marines or so. There's a drop in the main of Tilea that's being dealt with, but it's doing a lot of damage to Mutalisks. Tilea is just way out multitasked right now. There's another drop heading down to the 4th base again of Tilea. QXC has a supply lead of 194, 192, right now it's at 159, and QXC is double expanding. He's totally happy with where this game is going.
Yeah, he's just constantly harassing, and he's getting the wins by doing this. He's engaging very, very cleanly. He pulls back when he's not happy with what he's got. Looking at the army supply. Well, sorry, the Mutalisk Guard now have arrived. They are flying over top of the Marines. Not a good thing to do. Tilea is getting a lot of damage. Fortunately, they do heal up very, very quickly when they're not in combat. And it looks like Lings as well as the Queen are going to work away. Banelings are going to roll on up, but they're not going to connect very well at all. The splits for QXC are very, very good, being able to divvy up those Marines and get them out of position. Tanks just racking up the kills as well. More Marines and support shows up to try and help continue with this push. However, that being said, 84 to 87 supply, 67 workers to 60. Things have actually balanced out quite well until Tilea was able to hold. But that being said, there's an awful lot of pressure here by these tanks and these Marines just parked outside of her base.
Yeah, and there's a big mass of Lings in the middle of the map by that so along the watchtower, and Tilea needs to clean up this push. She needs to kill it decisively in order to prevent further rallies from affecting her production, from affecting her expansions. But there's another drop in the main. Oh my goodness, and it's not going to be dealt with. There's nothing close to it. It's going to probably smash the tech, maybe even the spawning pool if it doesn't decide to just go for drones. And it's giving what this drop is doing, in addition to any damage it actually does. What this drop is doing is letting QXC secure his fourth base and continue pushing because of his siege tanks. Because of the way because of the way this game is laid out, these positions are working out really well for a siege tank push. And I'm very impressed with QXC's play. He's been playing so solid and so safe. It's very nice. The sixth base is down from Tilea, but it's not saturated. Tilea is in a lot of trouble here still.
Yep, indeed. She's trying to do some muta harass. This is a good strategy to do. Try to take care of some of these workers. But she is losing units in the process. She's going to take care of that tower and start working around. And actually, a lot of these SCVs are undefended. She's going to be able to rack up some kills. This will definitely benefit her and her ability to be able to exact some revenge against QXC. Literally just picking off targets of opportunity with those Mutals, as well as Lings running on over. There is an Overlord stopping the landing position of this command center. But Mutalisk also just cracking away, getting lots and lots of kills. Huge Widow Mine hit on those Mutas and not working out so well there. However, that being said, QXC is not rushing back. He's not reacting the way I think Tilea wants him to, which is to pull back. No, he's going to continue applying pressure.
Yeah, and this push is going to be a really big deal. Some siege tanks are being cleaned up, but a massive siege tank shell just destroys so many Banelings. That base gets sniped. There's another base for those drones to run to, but there's no answer to this Marine tank. First, 2-2 is done. 3-2 is about to be finished for the Marines. The siege tanks have 2 upgrades. They one-shot Banelings. The fourth base is secured. It's a planetary. There's a bazillion turrets. QXC is looking so strong. Tilea is down a base. She's getting Ultralisk, but she doesn't have upgrades for the Ultralisk. She's only got a 1 attack upgrade and 2 defense upgrades for melee. She's in quite a bit of trouble here.
Yes, QXC is actually applying a lot of pressure. These 2-2 Marines are very, very good. Ultralisk is the correct response to a lot of Marines. The downfall is they need to be upgraded at this particular point in the game for them to have any kind of longevity, for them to be effective. Mutalisks have shown back up to help take care of things. She is still expanding behind this, which is good. Just taking a look at the supplies. Oh, wow. 70 workers for Tilea and 49 only for QXC. So she has been able to enact some revenge. But when it comes to military itself, things are looking much, much better. 150 for QXC as opposed to around 79 for Tilea. So this is where the real problem lies, is that, yes, she can kill off workers. She's able to do that, but she's not really slowing them down. He's got a nice big bank, 1,700 minerals, 1,600 gas. As opposed to her, she's not doing nearly as well. And she's now having to deal with just this constant pressure that he's able to do. Ultras are out, but they are horribly lowly upgraded. Only 1-2 Ultralisks and no chitinous plating, no nothing. So not looking so good for her.
Yeah, and with all of her expansions being sniped, there's no real income for her, so she has to play really, really cautiously. But there's a big engagement. So many Marines get surrounded, but there's still such good positioning from further siege tank. That siege tank line goes all the way up. But there's another expansion that's forced to be canceled by a siege tank, but shell, yeah. And Tilea needs to do something with this force. They need to either draw everything back from QXC with a huge counter, or they need to envelop QXC's forces when they're unsieged, when they're on the move. But trying to engage into an entrenched position when you're trying to take a fourth base isn't going to happen. And there's a big double drop coming, 16 Marines. It's going to clean up the Mutalisks that come between to help with the drop defense. And so many Mutalisks have been lost right there. That's just so bad for Tilea. And at the same time as that drop, there's a big move out to the center of the map with all of the creep from QXC.
Yep, absolutely. And the tanks get a lot of shells off. The drop is still happening, but they do get picked up when the Ultralisk does ultimately arrive. But like you say, so many Mutalisks were killed off, and drones in transit to somewhere. No, they're going to burrow instead to try and keep them alive. There will be a scan on that, I'm sure, just to kill them off in a second. No, I stand corrected. Tanks and Marines in the center of the map trying to hold out. Lings, Mutas, Ultralisks, the whole 9 yards, everything going for one big engagement here. Queen's supporting as well. Tanks ultimately die. This is actually working out really, really well for Tilea. She's able to mop up the tanks, the big threat here. And this is going to force QXC to retreat all the way back to his third. Oh my goodness. That was actually a really good engagement for her, but he is still continuing to apply the pressure up in her main, and quick pickup as well is going to get those Marines out of there. But they've done a little bit of damage, but more just trying to keep her on defensive.
Yeah, and these Mutalisks want to go in and chase on that medevac. That's not going to happen, not with so many turrets. And Tilea, while that was a good engagement, Tilea is still on 3 bases. She's not really mining from anything. This is the last time she can really try and expand unless she gets one medals from long-distance mining. Whereas QXC is saying, well, okay, well, fine. I can't kill you now, I'll just take another base. No big deal. QXC is mined out in his main and natural and pretty close in his third, but he's still got a bank. He still has way better upgrades, so he's still okay with this, even losing that army. But Tilea is continuing to try and play this out. Tank, Mine, Marauder, Marine is now out versus Ling Bling Muta, Ultra's Queen, and that's scary. Yeah, Tilea says GG. There's no way I'm coming back from that. Well played.
Yep, indeed. Well played, indeed. Certainly unfortunate for her that she's not going to be able to continue on through the winner's bracket. That's okay, though. She will move down to the loser's bracket, where she will continue on her MLG Spring Championship career there. Hopefully she'll be able to continue on. Certainly a very good play style. Absolutely. I cannot find fault with her concepts. Obviously very well practiced. It's just against QXC, and he is so experienced and so good at the continual harass, and that it ultimately leads into victory by way of all these small engagements. Drop, drop, drop. Multiple taxing of the multitasking, and so doing a very good job. QXC victorious, 2-0. What are your thoughts with regards to that match before we move on into, I think we're playing against Shu or we're watching Shu next, are we not?
I want to say you're right, but I'm not sure. I'll have to check. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. She's obviously a very talented player, and the length of time that she stayed in that game was way longer than I would have stayed in that game, man. Like and that's not a bad thing. I mean that she held on for way longer than I would have, and held on with an army, with a chance of coming back, and I would have been like, oh, I can't do it. That's very impressive. But I truthfully believe that those 1-1 upgrades and going into 2-2 upgrades for ranged every game first before going into Ling Bling Muta, that I can't figure out the reason for that. There's some reason there, but I'm not sure that it was worth the investment. And I think if she changed that around a little bit, maybe she would be happier. But we are going to go to a commercial break, guys, and we'll be back here in 3 minutes. We're going to find out what match exactly we're going to have for you at that point. And stay tuned, and we'll see you back right quick.